The truck rattled over the pothole-scarred road leading into Eugene, and Logan Hensley gripped the steering wheel harder than he needed to. His knuckles had gone white sometime around mile marker 43. The lumber mill upstate had paid well enough for 3 months of overtime, but the work had hollowed him out in ways money couldn't fix. He'd thought about skipping town altogether, driving past the exit and never looking back. But he'd made a promise to himself. Check on the house. Make sure Kevin hadn't burned it down or sold it for drug money. Get out. The pine trees thinned as he entered the town limits. Everything looked smaller than he remembered. The gas station where he'd worked summers in high school had a new sign, but the same rust-stained pumps. The diner on Main Street still had the cracked neon sign that flickered on the letter E. Nothing changed here. Nothing ever did. Logan turned onto Maple Street and felt his jaw tighten. Kevin's house sat at the end of the block, a pale yellow ranch with peeling paint and a sagging porch. The lawn had gone to seed, tall grass swallowing the walkway. Beer bottles lined the railing like soldiers. A plastic chair lay overturned in the driveway. He pulled up to the curb and killed the engine. The silence pressed against his ears. 3 months ago, he called Kevin to let him know he'd be gone for a while. Kevin had sounded drunk even at 10 in the morning. Don't worry about me, he'd slurred. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Logan had known better than to believe him. He climbed out of the truck and stood in the street, staring at the house. The windows were dark. No car in the driveway. The mailbox overflowed with envelopes and flyers, some of them rain-soaked and moldy. Looking good, Kevin, Logan muttered. He walked up the cracked driveway, boots crunching on gravel. The closer he got, the worse it looked. The gutters sagged with dead leaves. The front door had a dent in it, like someone had kicked it. Or punched it. Logan knocked. No answer. He knocked again, harder. Kevin. Nothing. He tried the handle. Locked. Logan stepped back and rubbed his face. Of course, Kevin wasn't home. Probably passed out at some bar, or in someone's basement playing poker with money he didn't have. Same old Kevin. Same old mess. But something pulled at him. A feeling he couldn't name. He walked around the side of the house, past the overgrown shrubs and the rusted swing set that June used to play on. June. His chest tightened at the thought of her. Sweet, quiet June, with her shy smile and her drawings of birds. She'd died 8 months ago. Pneumonia, Kevin had said. Logan had driven down for the funeral, stood in the rain beside a small white casket, and watched his brother cry like the world had ended. Maybe it had. Logan shook his head and kept walking. The backyard was worse than the front. Weeds choked the garden beds Lauren used to tend. The fence leaned at a dangerous angle. A plastic kiddie pool sat cracked and half-filled with stagnant water. And then he saw the shed. It squatted in the far corner of the yard, half hidden behind a tangle of blackberry bushes. The door hung open, creaking in the breeze. Logan stopped. He'd been to this house 100 times. He'd helped Kevin build that shed 5 years ago, back when things were different. Back when Lauren was alive and June was laughing and Kevin hadn't yet turned into a ghost of himself. But something about the shed now felt wrong. Logan crossed the yard, weeds catching at his jeans. The shed door swung wider as he approached, revealing darkness inside. The smell hit him first. Mildew, rot, something sour and unwashed. Jesus, Kevin, he whispered. He stepped closer, squinting into the shadows. Old paint cans, broken tools, a rusted lawnmower that hadn't run in years. And then he saw the cardboard. A flattened box lay in the corner, partially covered by a stained blanket. The blanket moved. Logan's heart stopped. Someone was under that blanket. He took a step forward, then another. His hand reached out, trembling, and pulled the blanket back. A small face looked up at him. Pale, dirty, frightened. June. The word came out as a gasp, barely louder than a breath. The girl blinked at him, with eyes too big for her thin face. Her hair hung in tangles around her shoulders. Her clothes, if they could be called clothes, were torn and stained with mud. She didn't move, didn't speak. Logan's knees went weak. He grabbed the shed wall to steady himself, his mind spinning, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. June, he said again, and this time his voice broke. The girl's lips parted. Her voice came out small and scratchy, like she hadn't used it in a long time. Uncle Logan, You weren't supposed to come back. Logan didn't remember dropping to his knees. He didn't remember reaching for her or pulling her into his arms. All he knew was that she was real, solid, and breathing and alive, and his entire world had just turned inside out. "You're alive," he whispered into her hair. "You're alive." June didn't hug him back. She stayed stiff in his arms, barely breathing. Logan pulled back and looked at her. Really looked. The hollows under her eyes. The bruises on her arms faded to yellow-green. The way she flinched when he moved too quickly. "What happened?" His voice came out rough. "Where's your dad?" June glanced at the house, then back at him. "He's not here. He goes out. Sometimes he comes back." "How long have you been out here?" She shrugged. The motion looked painful, like her shoulders hurt. Logan's hand shook as he touched her face, her arms, checking for injuries. She let him, passive as a doll. No broken bones that he could see, but she was too thin. Her skin felt cold despite the summer heat. "What did you last eat?" "Yesterday. Dad brought crackers." Crackers. The word tasted like acid in his mouth. Logan stood up, pulling June with him. She swayed on her feet, unsteady. He caught her before she fell. "Come on," he said. "We're getting you inside." Dad said I have to stay here. I don't care what he said. June's eyes went wide with fear. He'll be mad. Logan looked down at her, this tiny, broken thing his brother had reduced her to, and something cold and hard settled in his chest. Let him be mad. Logan carried June through the back door. It was unlocked. The frame splintered like someone had forced it open. The kitchen smelled like rotting food and old beer. Dishes piled in the sink, covered in mold. The trash can overflowed onto the floor. He set June down in a chair and grabbed a glass from the cupboard. The tap water ran brown for a few seconds before clearing. He filled the glass and handed it to her. "Drink. Slow." She took tiny sips, her hands shaking. Logan opened the fridge. Empty except for a case of cheap beer and half a moldy sandwich. The freezer held nothing but ice. He slammed the door shut and leaned against the counter, trying to control the rage building in his chest. June watched him with those two big eyes. "Are you mad at me?" "No." Logan forced himself to breathe. "I'm not mad at you. I'm never going to be mad at you. Dad said you thought I was dead." The room tilted. Logan gripped the counter edge. "He told me you were sick, that you died of pneumonia. There was a funeral." June nodded. "He said we had to pretend. He said if people knew I was alive, they'd take me away." "Who would take you away?" "The people from the state. After Mom died, they came to the house. They asked Dad questions. He got really scared." Logan's mind raced, piecing it together. Child services. An inspection after Lauren's death. Kevin had probably failed every check. Drinking, no job, house falling apart. They would have flagged him. Threatened to remove June from his custody. So Kevin had done the unthinkable. He'd hidden her. Told everyone she was dead. Faked a death certificate. Held a funeral. Collected sympathy and probably insurance money. And he'd kept his daughter in a shed like an animal. Logan's vision blurred red. "Where's your dad now?" "I don't know. He leaves at night, sometimes. He says he has to work." "Work?" Logan laughed, bitter and sharp. "Right." He moved to the window and looked out at the empty driveway. Kevin's truck was gone. No telling when he'd be back. Could be an hour. Could be days. Logan turned back to June. She sat hunched in the chair, looking like a strong wind could blow her away. "Listen to me," he said. "Your dad lied. To everyone, including me. What he did, keeping you out there like that, it's wrong. You understand that." June's lower lip trembled. "I try to be good. I try to be quiet." Something in Logan's chest cracked. He knelt in front of her and took her small hands in his. They felt like bird bones. "You didn't do anything wrong. You hear me? None of this is your fault." "Then why did he put me there?" Logan had no answer. Not one that would make sense to a 10-year-old. Hell, it didn't make sense to him. "I don't know," he said finally, "but you're not staying there anymore." "Where am I going?" Logan looked in her eyes, Lauren's eyes, he realized. Kind and scared and desperate for someone to tell her the world wasn't as cruel as it seemed. "With me." Logan found a trash bag under the sink and filled it with everything in June's room that still fit her. Most of the clothes were too small, relics from before Lauren died. He grabbed them anyway, along with a stuffed rabbit that sat on the bed and a sketchbook he found in the closet. He flipped through the drawings. Birds, mostly. Some flowers. One of a woman who must have been Lauren, smiling in a garden. The last few pages were darker. Rough sketches of a shed. A figure hunched in the corner. No color. No life. Logan closed the book and added it to the bag. June stood in the doorway, watching him. Dad's going to be really mad. I know. He said if I left, bad things would happen. Bad things already happened. Logan tied the bag and slung it over his shoulder. Come on. They made it to the truck before Logan heard the engine. He turned and saw Kevin's beat-up Ford rolling down the street, weaving slightly. The sun had set, painting everything in shades of purple and gray. Get in the truck, Logan told June. But now, she scrambled into the passenger seat. Logan stood by the driver's door, bag in hand, and watched his brother pull into the driveway. Kevin stumbled out of the truck. Even from 20 feet away, Logan could smell the alcohol. Kevin squinted at him, swaying. Logan, his voice was thick. What are you doing here? Could ask you the same thing. Kevin's gaze shifted to the passenger window, where June's pale face pressed against the glass. His expression went from confused to panicked in the span of a heartbeat. What the hell, June? Get back in the house. Logan stepped in front of him. She's coming with me. Kevin lunged forward, but his balance was shot. He stumbled, caught himself on the truck's hood. Up close, he looked worse than Logan had imagined. Bloodshot eyes, yellowed skin, the stink of someone who'd stopped caring about anything but the next drink. You can't. She's my kid. You buried her. Kevin flinched like he'd been slapped. I didn't. That's not. You told me she was dead. Logan's voice was stone. You let me mourn her. You let me stand at that funeral and cry over an empty casket while she was locked in a shed like trash. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand. Logan threw the bag into the truck bed. And I don't want to. Kevin's face twisted. For a second, Logan thought he might cry. Then the anger came back, familiar and ugly. You can't just take her. I'll call the cops. I'll call them. Tell them what you did. Tell them how you faked a death certificate. Tell them about the insurance money you collected. Kevin's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Logan climbed into the truck. Through the windshield, he could see Kevin's face, desperate, furious, broken. For a moment, something like pity flickered in Logan's chest. Then he remembered June's bruises, the cold shed, the empty fridge. The pity died. He started the engine and drove away, leaving Kevin standing alone in the driveway, shouting words that were swallowed by the growing dark. Logan's house sat 3 miles outside town, a small ranch he'd bought with money from their parents' life insurance after they died. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. But it was clean. It was his, and it had working locks on the doors. June sat rigid in the passenger seat the whole drive, her hands clutched in her lap. She didn't speak, didn't cry, just stared out the window like she expected someone to come after them. Logan pulled into the gravel driveway and killed the engine. The porch light flickered on, motion activated. Moths swarmed around it. This is it, he said. It's not much, but it's safe. June looked at the house, then at him. What if Dad comes here? Then I'll deal with him. He gets really angry when he drinks. I know. Logan had seen it plenty of times. Kevin's temper was legendary in their family. Quick to ignite, impossible to reason with. But Logan wasn't the same person Kevin used to push around. He'd stopped being that person a long time ago. He got out and grabbed the trash bag from the bed. June followed him to the door, staying close like she was afraid to let him out of sight. Inside, Logan flicked on the lights. The house looked the way he'd left it. Sparse furniture, clean floors, a couch that had seen better days. No decorations except for a single photo on the mantel. Him and Lauren at a barbecue years ago, both of them laughing at something Kevin had said. He'd have to take that down. You hungry? Logan asked. June nodded. He led her to the kitchen and opened the fridge. Eggs, bread, some deli meat that was probably still good. He pulled out the bread and made her a sandwich, slicing it into small pieces like Lauren used to do. June ate slowly, methodically, like someone had taught her to make food last. Logan watched her and felt sick. When did you last have a real meal? She thought about it. Mom used to make pancakes on Sundays. That was 2 years ago. Yeah. Logan turned away before she could see his face. He gripped the counter and counted to 10, then 20. The rage in his chest felt like it could break through his ribs. Behind him, June's small voice, "Uncle Logan?" He turned back, forcing his expression neutral. "Yeah. Is Dad going to be mad?" "Probably. What if he comes here?" Logan knelt down, so they were eye level. June's face was still so thin, so pale. But there was something else there now, a tiny spark of hope, fragile as a match flame. "Listen to me," Logan said. "Your dad is mad at the world. He's been mad for a long time. But that's not your fault. You didn't make him this way. You didn't deserve what he did to you. Then why did he do it? Because he's broken. And sometimes broken people hurt the ones they're supposed to protect." June's eyes filled with tears. They spilled over, tracking lines through the dirt on her face. "I thought maybe if I was quieter, or better, or—" "No." Logan's voice was firm. "Don't do that. Don't make excuses for him. What he did was wrong. And I'm not going to let him hurt you anymore. Promise?" Logan looked at her, this small, damaged child his brother had tried to erase, and made a vow that burned through him like fire. "I promise. He'll never touch you again." That night, Logan gave June his bed and slept on the couch with a baseball bat beside him. He didn't expect Kevin to show up. His brother was probably passed out drunk somewhere, but he wasn't taking chances. June had cried herself to sleep after a bath that turned the water brown. Logan had found old bruises covering her back and legs, some fresh enough to still be purple. He'd bandaged the worst ones and given her clean clothes to wear, an old t-shirt that hung to her knees. Now he lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and tried to make sense of it all. Kevin had always been selfish, always been weak. But this was something else. This was evil. Logan thought about the funeral, the small casket draped in white flowers. The minister talking about angels and heaven and God's plan. Kevin had stood beside him, sobbing into his hands, playing the grieving father. And the whole time, June had been alive, locked in a shed, alone. Logan's hands curled into fists. He'd always protected Kevin. When they were kids and their father came home drunk and violent, Logan would hide and Kevin would take the beatings. Kevin never let him forget it. Every time Logan tried to confront him, every time he questioned Kevin's choices, Kevin would throw it back in his face. "Where were you when Dad was breaking my ribs? Where were you when I was bleeding?" Logan had carried that guilt for 20 years. He'd made excuses for Kevin's drinking, his anger, his failures. He'd bailed him out of trouble more times than he could count. But this was different. This was unforgivable. Logan sat up and looked toward the bedroom door. A sliver of light showed underneath. June had asked him to leave the hallway light on. She was afraid of the dark now. He thought about what Rosa would say when she found out. Rosa, his next-door neighbor and closest friend, who'd helped him through his divorce and his parents' deaths and every other crisis that had hit him. She'd probably want to call the police immediately. Do things the right way. But Logan knew better. The system would slap Kevin on the wrist, maybe give him probation. Kevin would play the victim, cry about his dead wife and his struggles with grief. He'd get sympathy instead of justice. No, the system wasn't going to fix this. Logan was. He lay back down and closed his eyes, and in the darkness, he began to plan. Rosa showed up the next morning before Logan was even out of bed. He heard her knocking and groaned, grabbing his jeans from the floor. Through the window, he could see her standing on the porch, arms crossed, wearing her usual work uniform from the community center. He opened the door. "It's 6 in the morning. I saw your truck. Thought you were still upstate." Rosa pushed past him into the house. She was small but fierce, with dark eyes that missed nothing. "Why didn't you tell me you were back?" "Got in late. Didn't want to bother you." Rosa glanced around the living room, taking in the blanket and pillow on the couch, the baseball bat leaning against the wall. Her expression shifted from annoyed to concerned. "Logan, what's going on?" Before he could answer, a small voice came from the hallway. "Uncle Logan?" Rosa froze. Logan turned and saw June standing in the bedroom doorway, wearing his oversized t-shirt, her hair a tangled mess around her face. Rosa's eyes went wide. "Is that June?" Logan said. "Yeah. But Kevin said she died." Kevin lied. Rosa stared at June, then at Logan, her mind clearly racing. She moved toward June slowly, like approaching a scared animal. "Hey, sweetie, Do you remember me? I'm Rosa. I used to live next door to your house. June nodded. You gave me cookies once. Chocolate chip. That's right. Rosa crouched down. Are you okay? June glanced at Logan. He gave her a small nod. Uncle Logan is taking care of me now, June said. Rosa stood and pulled Logan into the kitchen, out of June's earshot. Her voice dropped to a furious whisper. What the hell happened? Logan told her. All of it. Finding June in the shed, the confrontation with Kevin, the fake death. With every word, Rosa's expression grew darker. We need to call the police, she said when he finished. Right now? No. Logan, you think they're going to do anything? Kevin will say it was a misunderstanding. He'll get a lawyer, play the grieving widower card. They'll give him community service and therapy. That's exactly what'll happen. You know it is. Logan leaned against the counter. And even if they lock him up, it'll be 6 months, maybe a year. Then he's out, and he's pissed, and June spends the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. Rosa was quiet for a long moment. Then, what are you going to do? Make sure he can't hurt anyone ever again. Ow! I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Rosa studied his face. Whatever she saw there made her sigh and rub her temples. You're sure about this? He let her sleep in a shed for 8 months. He starved her. He beat her. Logan's voice was cold and flat. Yeah, I'm sure. June slowly opened up over the next few days. Logan kept her inside, afraid Kevin might show up or someone might see her and start asking questions. Rosa brought groceries and helped June clean up properly, washing her hair and treating the worst of the cuts and bruises. On the 3rd day, June finally told them what had really happened. They sat at Logan's small kitchen table, June with a glass of milk and a sandwich, Logan and Rosa on either side of her. Outside, rain hammered against the windows. After Mom died, June began, her voice barely audible. Dad started drinking more. He'd come home late and yell at the walls. Did he yell at you? Rosa asked gently. Sometimes, but mostly he just cried. He'd say Mom left him, like she chose to die. Logan's jaw tightened. Lauren had been driving home from the grocery store when a drunk driver hit her head-on. She died instantly. Kevin had blamed everyone. The other driver, the doctors, God, but never himself for sending her out in a storm because he'd been too drunk to drive. Then one day, June continued. These people came to the house. A man and a woman. They had badges. They asked Dad lots of questions about me, like if I had food, and if I went to school, and if Dad ever hit me. Child services, Rosa said, glancing at Logan. June nodded. Dad got really scared after they left. He didn't drink for a few days. He cleaned the house. But then they came back, and they said they were going to check on us again. Dad got really quiet after that. What did he do? Logan asked. June's hands trembled around the glass. He told me we were going to play a game. He said I had to hide, and I couldn't tell anyone where I was. He said if I won the game, we'd go to Disneyland. Logan felt his stomach turn. He took me to the shed. He said I had to stay there until he said the game was over. He brought me food sometimes and a blanket, but the game never ended. June's voice broke, and we never went to Disneyland. Rosa covered her mouth with her hand. Tears streamed down her face. Logan stood up and walked to the window, his hands shaking with rage. Behind him, he heard June's small voice. Did I do something wrong? No, Rosa said firmly. You did nothing wrong. Your dad. Her voice cracked. Your dad is sick. What he did was terrible and wrong, and none of it is your fault. Then why did he tell everyone I died? Logan turned back. June was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. Because he was afraid, Logan said. Afraid of losing the house. Afraid of looking bad. Afraid of facing consequences. He moved back to the table and knelt beside her chair. So he did something cowardly. He erased you. But I'm still here. Yeah, you are. Logan took her hand, and I want to make sure everyone knows it. That night, after June fell asleep, Logan sat at his laptop and started digging. Rosa had gone home hours ago, but not before making Logan promise he wouldn't do anything stupid. He hadn't promised. Kevin's Facebook page was still active. Logan scrolled through the posts from the past year. Condolence messages from friends and neighbors. Photos of June's grave. A small headstone with her name and dates, flowers laid at the base. Kevin had even posted a long, rambling tribute. My angel, my baby girl, you deserve so much more than this world gave you. Daddy loves you forever. Logan felt bile rise in his throat. He downloaded every post, every photo, every comment. Then he logged into Kevin's email. His brother had never been smart about passwords, and Logan knew his habits and found the records. The death certificate filed with the county. The insurance claim paid out 6 months ago. Nearly $20,000. All of it fraud. Logan leaned back in his chair and stared at the screen. This was it. This was the ammunition he needed. Not just to expose Kevin, but to destroy him completely. But something nagged at him. Something Rosa had said before she left. Be careful, Logan. Revenge has a way of eating people alive. He thought about that. About whether what he was planning was justice or just anger dressed up in a better suit. Then he thought about June's bruises. The fear in her eyes. The way she flinched every time someone raised their voice. No, this wasn't revenge. This was reckoning. Kevin finally showed up on the 5th day. Logan heard the truck engine before he saw it. He was in the kitchen, making lunch, when the sound of tires on gravel made him stop. Through the window, he saw Kevin's Ford pulling up fast, skidding to a halt in the driveway. June, Logan called. Go to the bedroom. Lock the door. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, eyes wide. Is it Dad? Yeah. Go. She ran. Logan heard the bedroom door slam, the lock click. He grabbed the baseball bat from beside the couch and moved to the front door. Kevin was already out of the truck, stumbling toward the house. He looked worse than before. Unshaven, clothes stained, eyes wild. He pounded on the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Logan, open up. Logan opened the door, but didn't step back. The bat hung loose in his hand, visible. Kevin's gaze flicked to it, then back to Logan's face. Where's June? None of your business. She's my daughter. No. Logan's voice was ice. You gave up that right when you buried her. Kevin's face twisted. For a second, Logan thought he might try to rush past him. Then Kevin seemed to deflate, his shoulders sagging. You don't understand. They were going to take her. After Lauren died, Child Services said the house wasn't safe. They said I wasn't fit. Kevin's voice rose, desperate. I couldn't let them take her. She's all I have left. So you lock her in a shed. I was protecting her. You were protecting yourself. Logan stepped forward, forcing Kevin back. You were scared of losing the house, the insurance money, your reputation. So you erased her. You made everyone think she was dead, so you could keep pretending everything was fine. That's not. Yes, it is. Logan's grip on the bat tightened. I mourned her, Kevin. I stood at that funeral and cried for a dead child. And the whole time, she was alive, sleeping on cardboard, eating scraps like a dog. Kevin's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know what else to do. You could have called me. You could have asked for help. You would have judged me, just like you always do. Logan laughed, bitter and sharp. Yeah, I would have judged you for being a drunk and a failure and a coward. But you know what? I still would have helped. I would have taken June, gotten her somewhere safe, made sure she was okay. Because that's what you do for family. You stole my kid. You threw her away. Kevin lunged. Logan was ready. He shoved Kevin back with one hand, hard enough to send him stumbling. Kevin caught himself on the porch railing, breathing hard. Get off my property, Logan said. Or what? You'll hit me? Go ahead. Wouldn't be the first time you took something from me. What are you talking about? Everything. Kevin's voice broke. You took everything. Dad beat the hell out of me while you hid. Mom loved you more. Lauren thought you were so great, always comparing me to you. And now you're taking June. Logan stared at his brother. At the man who'd once been his protector, his defender, before alcohol and bitterness had rotted him from the inside out. I didn't take anything from you, Logan said quietly. You gave it all away. The drinking, the lying, the violence, that was you. Not me. Not Lauren. Not June. You. Kevin's face crumpled. He sank down on the porch steps, head in his hands, sobbing. The sound was ugly and raw, like an animal in pain. She's all I have, Kevin gasped between sobs. Please, please, Logan, don't take her from me. Logan looked down at his brother, this broken, pathetic thing, and felt nothing. No pity, no sympathy, just a cold, hollow emptiness where forgiveness might have been. You did this to yourself. He went back inside and locked the door. Behind it, Kevin kept crying, but Logan didn't care. He walked to the bedroom and knocked softly. "June? It's me." "He's gone." The lock clicked. June opened the door a crack, peering out. "Is he coming back?" Logan thought about Kevin's face, the desperation in his eyes, the way he'd collapsed on the steps like the world had finally broken him. "I don't know, but if he does, I'll handle it." June nodded and started to close the door. Then she paused. "Uncle Logan, do you think Dad will ever stop being mad?" Logan looked at her. This child who'd been through hell and still found it in herself to care about the man who'd put her there. "No," he said. "Some people stay mad their whole lives. They can't let go of it. It eats them until there's nothing left. Is that going to happen to you?" The question hit him like a punch. Logan crouched down so they were eye level. "I'm not mad, June. I'm doing what needs to be done. There's a difference." She didn't look convinced, but she nodded anyway. The door closed. The lock clicked. Logan stood there for a long moment, staring at the wood grain. Then he went back to the kitchen, back to his laptop, and kept gathering evidence. Kevin was wrong about one thing. Logan wasn't taking anything. He was finishing what Kevin had started the day he decided his daughter's life was worth less than his own comfort. He was making sure the lie stayed buried. Logan spent 2 weeks building his case. He worked nights after June went to sleep, combing through Kevin's digital footprint, printing documents, organizing evidence. Rosa helped when she could, though she kept asking if he was sure about this. He was sure. On a Tuesday morning, Logan drove to the county records office. He requested copies of June's death certificate, the autopsy report Kevin had supposedly filed, the burial permit. The clerk looked at him strangely, but handed over the files. Every single one was fake. Kevin had forged the death certificate, paid someone to falsify the autopsy, and arranged a funeral for an empty casket. He'd done it all to keep child services from checking up on June, to keep the insurance money flowing, to keep up the lie. Logan photographed everything. Then he drove to the community center where Rosa worked and used their computer to compile it all into a single folder. Screenshots of Kevin's Facebook posts, photos of the insurance claim, copies of the forged documents, and one final piece, a written statement from June describing in simple, heartbreaking detail what her father had done. Rosa read over his shoulder. "What are you going to do with this?" "Send it everywhere. County welfare office, local newspaper, state police." Logan's finger hovered over the send button. "Everyone's going to know what he did. Once you do this, there's no taking it back." "Good." Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then she put her hand on his shoulder. "I hope you know what you're doing." Logan looked at the screen, at the evidence of Kevin's cruelty, all laid out in black and white. Then he thought about June, sleeping safely in his house, drawing pictures of birds that flew instead of hiding in shadows. "I do." He hit send. The story broke 3 days later. Logan saw it first on the local news website. Local man accused of faking daughter's death for insurance fraud. The article included everything: the forged documents, the insurance payout, Kevin's history of neglect. By noon, the TV news had picked it up. By evening, it was trending on social media. Kevin's phone must have exploded with calls. Logan didn't know and didn't care. He kept June inside, away from windows, away from anyone who might recognize her. He'd already spoken to a lawyer about custody, about getting June into school under his guardianship. The process would take time, but the lawyer was optimistic, especially given what Kevin had done. On the 4th day after the story broke, the police showed up. 2 officers, a man and a woman, standing on Logan's porch looking official and uncomfortable. "Logan Hensley?" "That's me. We need to ask you some questions about June Hensley." Logan let them in. He'd known this was coming. The police would need to verify everything, interview June, make sure Logan wasn't somehow complicit in the fraud. June sat on the couch, Rosa beside her. The female officer knelt down, introducing herself as Officer Martinez. "Hi, June. I'm here to help. Can you tell me what happened after your mom died?" June glanced at Logan. He nodded. She told them everything. Her voice was small but steady, recounting the shed, the hunger, the fear. She showed them the faded bruises on her arms. She described the day Logan found her, the way he'd taken her somewhere safe. Officer Martinez wrote it all down, her expression growing harder with each word. When June finished, The officer stood and spoke quietly with her partner. Then she turned to Logan. We're going to need you to come down to the station. We have some paperwork for you to fill out. Am I under arrest? No, but we need your statement on record, and we need to process custody arrangements. Logan looked at June. She looked terrified. It's okay, he told her. Rosa's going to stay with you. I'll be back in a few hours. Rosa nodded. We'll make cookies. It'll be fine. June didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. Logan followed the officers out to their car, glancing back once at the house. Through the window, he could see Rosa sitting beside June on the couch, already pulling out baking supplies. At the station, they took Logan to a small interview room. He answered every question directly, without embellishment. Yes, he found June in the shed. Yes, Kevin had told him she was dead. No, he hadn't called the police immediately because he didn't trust the system to protect her. The detective across from him, a woman in her 50s named Sullivan, studied him with sharp eyes. Why didn't you report this the day you found her? Because I knew Kevin would talk his way out of it. He always does. That's not your decision to make. Someone had to make it. Logan leaned forward. You want to arrest me for protecting a kid from her abuser? Go ahead. But June's not going back to that house. She's not going back to him. Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. Then she closed her notebook. We've issued a warrant for Kevin Hensley's arrest. He's being charged with fraud, child endangerment, and falsifying government documents. When we find him, he's going away for a while. When you find him, he's not at his house. Neighbors said he left yesterday, packed a bag, and drove off. We have his truck on a bolo. Logan felt something twist in his chest. Kevin had run. Of course he had. When things got hard, Kevin always ran. What about June? Temporary custody will be granted to you while we investigate. Assuming everything checks out, we'll start the process for permanent guardianship. Sullivan stood. You did the right thing, Mr. Hensley, even if you did it the wrong way. Logan didn't respond. He wasn't sure there was a right way to navigate something this broken. Kevin showed up 2 weeks later. Logan was in the backyard with June, helping her plant flowers in the garden bed Rosa had brought over. June had picked out daisies and lavender, saying they reminded her of her mom. They were kneeling in the dirt, June carefully patting soil around a seedling, when Logan heard the truck. He stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. June, go inside. But now, she ran. Logan walked around the side of the house and found Kevin standing in the driveway. He looked like hell, thinner than before, clothes hanging off him, eyes sunken and bloodshot. A duffel bag sat at his feet. You win, Logan. Kevin's voice was flat, empty, like something inside him had finally given up. Logan crossed his arms. What are you doing here? They seized the house, froze my accounts, took everything. Kevin laughed, but there was no humor in it. The whole town knows. People cross the street when they see me. My boss fired me. I can't even get a drink without someone spitting in it. Good. Kevin flinched. I came to say goodbye, and to ask you to let me see her. Just once. Just to say I'm sorry. Logan stared at his brother. At the man who'd hidden a child in a shed, who'd faked her death, who'd let her suffer for months while he drank himself into oblivion. The man who was asking for forgiveness like it was something he deserved. No, Logan. You saw her last time when she was sleeping on cardboard in a shed. That's the last time you're ever going to see her. Kevin's face crumpled. Please, I'm her father. You stopped being her father the day you decided she was easier to erase than to take care of. Logan's voice was hard as stone. You don't get to walk back in now and play the victim. You did this. You. I know. Tears streamed down Kevin's face. I know I did, and I hate myself for it. Every day I hate myself, but she's still my daughter. I still love her. Love. Logan stepped closer. You don't know what that word means. Love doesn't lock someone in a shed. Love doesn't fake a death and collect insurance money. Love doesn't leave bruises and scars that'll never fully heal. I was trying to protect her. From what? The people who wanted to help her. Logan shook his head. You weren't protecting her. You were protecting yourself. From consequences. From responsibility. From having to admit you failed. Kevin collapsed to his knees in the driveway, sobbing. I'm sorry. God, Logan, I'm so sorry. Logan looked down at him, at this broken, pathetic thing that used to be his brother. And he felt nothing. No anger. No pity, just a cold, empty certainty. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give June back the year you stole from her. Sorry doesn't erase what you did. Then what do? You leave. You get in that truck and you drive away and you never come back. You let June have a life without you in it. Kevin lifted his head, his face streaked with tears and dirt. And if I don't, then I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. Every detail, every lie, every moment she spent in that shed while you were out getting drunk. Logan's voice dropped. And when you get out of prison in a few years, I'll be waiting to make sure you understand that you don't get to hurt her ever again. Kevin stared at him. Then, slowly, he stood. He wiped his face with his sleeve, picked up his duffel bag, and walked back to his truck. Before he got in, he turned back one last time. Tell her I'm sorry. No, Logan said. I won't. Kevin nodded, like he'd expected that answer. Then he climbed into the truck and drove away. Logan watched until the truck disappeared around the corner. Then he went back inside, where June was standing in the hallway, her hands clasped in front of her. Was that Dad? Yeah. What did he want? Logan knelt down in front of her. To say goodbye. June was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you think he hates me? No. Logan touched her face gently. He's just broken. Some people are broken in ways that can't be fixed. They hurt everyone around them without even meaning to. Will you get broken too? Logan thought about that. About the anger he'd carried these past weeks. The cold satisfaction he'd felt watching Kevin's life fall apart. About whether revenge and justice were really different things, or just different names for the same darkness. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm trying not to be. June hugged him then, her small arms wrapping around his neck. Logan held her close and made a silent promise. Not to forgive Kevin, not to forget what he'd done, but to make sure June never had to pay for it. Some lies needed to stay buried. 3 months later, June started school. Logan drove her to the building on the first day, watching as she clutched her new backpack and stared at the doors like they might swallow her whole. You okay? He asked. What if they ask about my dad? Then you tell them he's not around. You don't owe anyone explanations. June nodded, but she looked scared. Logan walked her to the entrance, where a teacher was greeting students. The woman smiled at June. You must be June Hensley. I'm Mrs. Patterson. Welcome. June glanced back at Logan. He gave her a small nod. I'll be here when you're done. Promise. She took a deep breath and followed the teacher inside. Logan stood there for a while, watching through the glass doors as June found her classroom, as she sat down at a desk and pulled out a pencil. His phone buzzed. Rosa, how'd it go? She's terrified, but she went in. That's what matters. Want to grab coffee later? Yeah, thanks. Logan drove back to the house. The place was too quiet now, but he didn't mind. Quiet meant safe. Quiet meant no screaming, no crying, no fear. In the living room, June's drawings covered the walls. Rosa had suggested hanging them up, said it would make the place feel more like home. Most were birds, sparrows, blue jays, hawks. But there were flowers too. Daisies and lavender, just like the ones now growing in the backyard. Logan stood in front of one drawing. A bird in flight, wings spread wide, heading toward a sun drawn in bright yellow crayon. In the bottom corner, June had written in shaky letters, free. He thought about Kevin, wherever he was now. The court case was still pending. Kevin would probably get a few years in prison, maybe less if he got a good lawyer. But by the time he got out, June would be older, stronger. She'd have a life built on something other than fear. And Kevin would never be part of it. Logan didn't feel triumphant about that. He didn't feel much of anything, honestly. Just tired. Tired but certain. He'd done what needed to be done. Not because it made him feel good. Not because it healed anything, but because June deserved better. She deserved a chance to grow up without lies, without violence, without a father who saw her as a burden instead of a gift. Some people couldn't be forgiven. Some actions were too cruel, too calculated, too fundamentally wrong to ever be wiped clean. And Logan was okay with that. 6 months later, the court finalized Logan's custody of June. Kevin had been sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraud and child endangerment. The judge had called it one of the most disturbing cases he'd seen in his career. Logan didn't attend the sentencing. He had better things to do, like helping June with her homework or teaching her how to ride the bike Rosa had bought her, or just sitting with her while she drew birds that flew higher and higher off the page. On a Sunday afternoon, June came to him with something in her hands. A piece of paper folded in half. "I made this for you." Logan opened it. Inside was a drawing of two figures standing in a garden. One tall, one small. Around them, flowers bloomed in bright colors. Birds circled overhead. At the top, in careful letters, home. Logan felt his throat tighten. "This is good, June. Do you like it?" "I love it." She smiled. A real smile, the kind he rarely saw, but that made every hard moment worth it. Then she went back to her room, leaving Logan standing there with the drawing in his hands. He thought about Kevin, sitting in a cell somewhere, probably still convinced he'd been a victim, still believing that what he'd done had been justified, or at least understandable. Logan didn't care anymore. Kevin could believe whatever he wanted. It didn't change the truth. It didn't change the fact that Logan had kept his promise to June, that he'd protected her, given her a safe place to heal, and made sure her father could never hurt her again. That night, Logan planted more flowers in the backyard. Lilies this time, June's new favorite. She knelt beside him, digging small holes with a trowel, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "Why lilies?" Logan asked. "Because they don't need much to grow. Just a place that's safe." Logan looked at her, this resilient, brave kid who'd survived hell and somehow come out the other side, still hopeful, still kind. "You're gonna be okay," he said. "You know that, right?" June nodded. "I know. Because you're here." Logan planted another lily and thought about the lie they'd buried. Not Kevin's lie about June being dead, but the lie that family meant forgiveness, that blood made you obligated to forget, that love required giving people endless chances to hurt you. Some lies needed to stay buried. Some bridges needed to stay burned. And some people, like June, like Rosa, like the small family they'd built from broken pieces, deserved to be protected at any cost. Logan had made his choice. He'd never forgive Kevin. He'd never forget what his brother had done. And he'd spend the rest of his life making sure June knew she was worth more than all the lies Kevin had ever told. The flowers grew. The birds flew. And somewhere in the distance, the past faded into something that couldn't touch them anymore.